Tottenham are back. That means your panel shows are back every Tuesday and Thursday in the evening times. Of course, no Ben today. Ben will be back next week. He's had a few things on that he can't get away from, but we still have an amazing panel with us today. And of course, we are joined by Johnny, who was with us on the pre-match build-up the other day. How are you, Johnny?
I'm all good. The sun's shining. Can't complain.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Well, you know, you might have some complaints once we start getting into the talking points. Who knows? But Shawnee, the one and only, you know, the guy with the most momentum on YouTube at the minute. How are you keeping, sir?
I'm all right, mate. Yeah, good. Thanks for having me back. Looking forward to a lovely chat. Yeah, it's nice weather. Like Johnny said, you can't be too unhappy when the weather's shining, when the sun is shining. So yeah, all good, mate.
Nah, brilliant. That's what we like to hear. And everybody, what we got on the talk on the show today, basically, is we're going to talk a bit about the director of football. Then we're also going to talk about maybe Kane's words from his interview compiled with Conte's. Is it having a really damaging effect on the reputation of this football club and the inability to shift out the deadwood? Plus, we've got some questions from channel members to get through as well today. But look, first of all, I want to welcome a few people in, and then we will crack on with it. We've got Kate. Big up, Kate. Hopefully you and hopefully the mother's okay as well. Big up, John from the Cheese Room. He says, massive show tonight. We all know majority of players going will be in the last week of the window. At this rate, I don't even care. I just want them gone, to be honest with you, John. Steve D says, hi all. I need to get it off my chest now. I'm done with giving Richie time. He's had more than enough time. He's had more time than Charles Bronson. Sign a first 11 striker. Big up, Stevie D. Come on, you Spurs. That's from Terry Beats. We also have Zach Elwa, 76, says, come on, you Spurs. We also have Welsh Gal in the house. Big yourself up. Jazzy Fusion, great to see you. He says, Deadline day, Danny's Discount Emporium. John Stokes says, good evening, everyone. Hope you're all right. Big up, Johnny. Hopefully you're keeping well. Big up, King Huddle as well. Evening, gentlemen and women of the Spurs persuasion. Big up, my man. Big up, Pedro Mendez as well, along with Foggy Foam. Great to see you. Chris, Roy, great to see you. Spurs related. Great to see you, Jamesy boy. We also have Aman Arnasia says, Fatty Doku and Orban to Spurs, and I would worship Levy every day of my life.
I thought that was our signing, Fatty Doku. I thought it was a new guy that I hadn't heard of.
That's what would be on the back of my jersey if they signed me, Johnny. Fatty Doku.
He failed the fitness test, though.
Sean, I swear to you, man, if you put the headline in the Daily Mail, Spurs linked with Fatty Doku, the fan base will be going, yeah, we got to get Fatty Doku in.
Yeah. Have you seen that guy's stats? Phenomenal. Yeah, phenomenal player.
I've been watching him since he was 6, 8 Weetabix in the morning, that kid. Right?
100%.
Absolutely quality. That'd be the name on the jersey if I signed
Fatty
anyway.
Doku. Fatty Doku signs for Spurs.
Sean's headline tomorrow. I want to see it, Shawnee.
Fatty Doku. Fatty
Doku. Hotspur J says, big up everyone. Let's smash United. Come on, you Spurs. Big up, my man. We also have Benjamin Foster in the house. We also have Nick Fatty. There's a lot of fatties around today. Says a few injuries, and we could be saying, thank F, we kept the Deadwood. We'll get on to that. Iceman says, good evening all. Let's get this Deadwood out and push on our season. Big up, Iceman. Slow jam rod. We also have Seems Mad. Big yourself up. Sebas Wolf, KPV. We have Jody in as well. Big up, Jody. Evening, guys. We're winning on Saturday. I really hope so. Make sure we're not missing anybody. Martin Nicebridge, great to see you. We also have Neil Shaft. And Neil, the super chat you put in, what was it, yesterday? That was on the podcast, my man. It wasn't live. It was a pre-record that we upload. But look, I will look into maybe trying to get a financial and transfer expert on to maybe explain the processes of a transfer if that's what people want to see. But these people are very, very hard to get on, my man. But really appreciate the support, my man. Big yourself.
Dave, yeah. Can I just, sorry, because I didn't mention this before when we were backstage, before we came on, but it was just something I wanted to say that's been bugging me for a long time. Arsenal, right, have 5 statues, right, at their stadium for the greats that have represented their club, okay? We have had this stadium here for all this time, right? We still have not erected one statue for the one person who is the DNA of this club, right? And that's Bill Nicholson. Those gates could be erected outside that ground, outside the main stand, with Bill Nicholson's statue right in through the middle of them, right? Let people come here and understand what this club is all about. It's like the club has been cleansed and our history has just been wiped out. This guy was our club, you know, as a kid, as a very young kid, I must hasten to add, he was what this club was all about. You know, 300 odd games as a player, I think from 1930s, 38, all the way to late 70s, and then stepped upstairs. He was the epitome of the club. Yet we can't acknowledge him. You know, no Jimmy Greaves, no nothing. You know, we stick a mural on the wall. I just feel it really pissed me off when I see them unveiling a statue to Arsene Wenger, and yet we can't acknowledge someone who's done so much for the club and our heritage. It was around. I don't know what you think, Sean, about it. Whether it's something that's just, you know, it doesn't matter. I mean, if you ask a lot of the kids that go football, they don't even know who Bill Nicholson is.
Why do we think though that they don't want to erect the statues? Is it because maybe we'll remind Spurs fans of glory of years gone by and it puts more pressure on their ownership, or, you know, any idea on it, Shawnee?
Do I feel strongly about it? Yeah, listen. I don't. It's not a hill I'm going to die on. I certainly feel like it's. I lean where Johnny's going. Johnny tagged me in a tweet that's been retweeted, and I mean, I must have had 200 notifications about it over the last 24 hours.
Yeah,
so I appreciate that. But it's no. Look, it's. I think it's a shame. I don't know what the reasons are. I don't know if there's anything that's like technical around it. Like, is there planning permission issues or anything? I don't know if any of that sort of stuff is
Sean, if you can get a hotel, sorry, mate, I didn't want to interrupt you there, but it was saying you can get a hotel built, you can get various other things built. I'm sure, you know, a statue outside to honour someone of that ilk. Sorry, mate.
I agree. Yeah, like I say, I'm not saying that that's the justification. I'm just saying that I don't know. Is there a reason around that? But probably not.
Yeah.
And if not, then look, it's a real shame. I think that obviously the difficulty or the question then becomes, well, who gets one, who doesn't? Obviously, Bill Nick is the standout selection. But then after that, right? But I mean, if Jimmy Greaves get one, should Harry Kane get one?
Well, I mean, listen, he's got inside the ground. I think, you know, also this resonates with me when you get the foreign players coming to the club, right? If you had. There's so many quotes from Bill Nick. It's not about the game, it's about the glory. You know, the game it's about the fans. There's so many quotes. If you're a player and you arrive from Venezuela, Colombia, Argentina, and you arrive at the dressing room and the wall is cleansed, corporate beige, it don't tell you anything. If you walk into that dressing room and you see the quotes by Bill Nick, Keith Birkinshaw, or whoever, some of the greats of the club, you can understand the history and the significance of the club you've just signed for. That's number one.
Like the YNWA sign above as Liverpool players walk down the steps.
Correct. We'll never walk alone. Exactly, right? The history of the club. So that's for the players, and then for the youth growing up, they can understand, you know, they go through in the concourse, the lower concourse, beige plain walls. You could have murals. You don't need to always have a statue. Who's that, Dad? Oh, that was our double team, right? That was when we won the double. That's when we won the FA Cup '67. That's when we won, you know, acknowledgement of it. I'm just saying it's very corporate. It's almost like we had no history before that stadium was built. And I just would like to see it change. I'm sorry, Dave, because
Look, personally, I think it's done by design. I don't think they want people reminded of the glory years or the trophies that we used to win, because then it puts more questions around their current ownership, but also the fact that they don't want it just to be a football stadium. They want to be able to turn it around for NFL, turn it around for rugby, concerts, etc. And when you have them statues there, that maybe gets in the way of it, and it signifies Tottenham as a football stadium. So I think there's probably a bit of both to that, to be honest with you. Look, personally, I think it's a crying shame. I used to love going up to White Hart Lane with the Audi lad, and him telling me stories about some of the great players, all that sort of stuff, you know. And it is something that I think, you know, well, I done a stadium tour when I was over there before, and look, inside the stadium and around it is absolutely magnificent, but the only real recognition they have to our past is if you go in the corporate front doors where the trophies are. Apart from there is nothing else around that sort of displays the greatness that this club has achieved in the past.
Six statues at Arsenal. Right? I mean, we were meant to have a museum, you know, which, you know, I'd rather have a museum than a go-kart track or, you know, whatever else they're building. Because, again, a museum, if you ever go to Barcelona and you go to the stadium tour, they show you all the history, or any club for that matter. I just would like to see our identity come back a bit by having, you know, a statue or a mural or a museum to talk about, you know, the first black player that ever played for Spurs. You know, that's a statue that should be erected. Anyway, look, I'm banging on about it because it's something that's bugged me for a while. It's something that Levy spoke about many years ago, and nothing's happened. And I would just like to see him acknowledged.
It's a good movement, mate. I can get behind that as a movement.
Yeah.
Start a hashtag and get it trending, and I'll
I think we need to. We just need to get it, and you know, he deserves it.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. Absolutely spot on. And do you know what? I've heard a lot of sort of older Spurs fans sort of talk about that over the past couple of years, and it is something that does need to happen. You need to bring that history back into that stadium to give it that magical feeling when you're walking into it or up towards it on a match day, a bit like what the old sort of White Hart Lane used to give you, especially because, you know, a lot of people are obviously older than me, but they would have been there experiencing the memories. They would have been there for a lot of the games. For instance, beating Anderlecht at home to lift the European trophy and stuff like that. So every time they walked up, they were reminded of greatness or the history, and they had them great moments behind them. And hopefully, look, we can start incorporating that into the new stadium. I know they've put up the clock. I know they're brought back the gates, or they're bringing back the gates, but it's not enough. It's nowhere near enough. It's only a token gesture.
In between those gates.
So bad.
Yeah, he needs to be between those gates. They brought back the clock. They had knockers sitting around. Hey, what are we going to do with that clock? I need to put a desk there and a coffee machine. Oh, I've got to whack it up on the thing. It's been sitting there for ages, right? I've seen the clock in the office up at the house there. Anyway, look, I wanted to bring it up. You know, Jimmy Greaves should definitely get one, and Bill Nick and Tuttle is his name. I can't remember. The first black guy definitely should be up there as well. But listen, it's a starting point. I hope they address it at some point. I want to see the history because I feel the stadium is soulless. It might be shiny, it might be big, it might be brash, but it's soulless right now. Anyway, let's get
to I think, wasn't it? Walter Toll.
But it could be. We won't. We're champions of that cup as well, Sean. You know, that's one that can go straight into our trophy cabinet. But Johnny, we'll throw this one to you. Paul Markey says Jimmy Greaves 357 goals put Shearer's and Kane scoring in the mud.
Well, I've got to tell you, if Jimmy Greaves didn't have that terrible virus that he had, which was serious. It was a serious illness. It robbed him of a few yards of pace. I think Jimmy Greaves would have been one of the greatest players ever. Or he already was one of the great strikers, but nobody would have ever got near his record. And that includes Harry Kane. He would have gone on without that illness to have played in the World Cup final. Jeff Hurst would never be. They think it's all over. We wouldn't be hearing West Ham won the World Cup. We would be talking about how Jimmy Greaves won the World Cup for Spurs. If you saw his goals, man, the ball control. They talk about Messi and his control. I'd like to see Messi outbeat Jimmy Greaves playing in those mud baths that he did. It was an incredible a sight to see. And if you ever get time to watch the Jimmy Greaves documentary, you'll see just how great he was.
There you are, Paul Markey. There you are, my man. Hopefully you enjoyed Johnny's words on the great Jimmy Greaves there. And you're right, about the pitches they used to play on back then. Absolutely crazy. You'd want to have some ball control on them, That's why it drives me mad seeing current players not being able to control them on carpets. But there you are. There you are. Iceman, new YouTube member swap. Big up, Iceman. Hopefully you're keeping well. Hopefully you enjoy all the members' content that is being currently put out there and will continue to be put out there over the season. Big up, Iceman. The outlet said Levy wants a statue of himself holding bags of money. Big up, man. Hopefully you're keeping well. You'll have one of Harry Kane beside him, the other one of Luka Modric, Bale, and Christian Eriksen, the likes, and him behind with the stacks of cash. Shawnee Paul Markey says, why interest in Orban, who is only experienced in Farmers League? We signed Veliz with experience in a league with some of the hardest defenders in the Argentinian league. His division's better than Orban.
Yeah, but he hasn't. Well, I mean, he hasn't scored anywhere near as many goals at that level. I'd actually argue that the Argentinian league, not that I'm a frequent viewer of it, but from what I've read from people that are, they say that the quality in the league isn't quite where it was. But I just think that Belize, I hope he's going to be an absolute superstar for Tottenham. I've got no doubts he'll do really well. But I think that the plan with him is that he needs to acclimatise to life in London. It's a big shift for a young guy to come and move, change continent. And I think he'll need a little bit of time before the pressure of first team football's on his shoulders. So I don't think we should rush that one personally. And because if you go too soon and it doesn't work out, you can spoil the guy. Take away his confidence or whatever too early. So look, I personally do like Orban. I think he's there's a lot of risk with it. Of course there is, but you're not paying. If there wasn't any risk, you'd be paying 3 times the amount for a guy who scored as many goals as he has. It is a risk, but it's a risk I'm willing to take. I really like the guy. I think he's got a little bit of everything. He's exciting to watch. He's got a brilliant finish, dribble, pace, strong, strong, unpredictable, can move the ball with both feet. I don't know. There's nothing that you don't really. There's nothing that you look at and think, oh, he's weak in that area, particularly.
First touch.
But the first touch is, again, I think people are looking for, if you are looking for a reason to say it, then fine. But I still don't think it's necessarily a problem. The only thing I would say about him is that his XG to G ratio, like the differential, where he scored twice as many goals as he should have done. If you're looking to understand why that is, some of the goalkeeping saves that were made in Norway were just absolutely shambolic. So I think it would be he wouldn't have scored quite as many goals if there was some.
It made Galini look great, man. It looked great. Galini looked like one of the
some of them just like he'd have a pot shot from 23, 24 yards, and the ball would barely the ball would just roll like a pea roller.
He dived over the ball,
and the goalkeeper dives over the top of it. It's madness, absolute madness. So yeah, take the scoring ratio to a little pinch of salt, but his technique to me looks really impressive. So,
Johnny, do you want to have your say on Orban?
Listen, Alejo Veliz, he had a lot of interest from other clubs in Europe, a lot. And we can thank Gio and Kuti for convincing him to come to Spurs. But I'm agree with Sean on this one. He's going to need time to adapt. I think 22 goals, is not a bad record for a 19-year-old. I love the way that everyone says he's just another Brian Gill. He's 6'2". Brian Gill's about 5'6". Very similar.
The
usual. Gift Orban, is he going to be the gift that keeps giving to Spurs? Look, he's one of those players. If we sign him and he's shit, it will be, another Tottenham. Our recruitment's crap. If we don't sign him and he goes on to play for Juventus and bangs in 50 goals, and suddenly it's like, why didn't we sign him? I know we identified him on data in May. We're now in August. Did we not sign him because we weren't sure? Why did we go for Liz and not go for Orban? I think the reason being is that Veliz, $17 million all in with the add-ons, and a player who I believe is about 15 million plus add-ons plus maybe a sell-on is now they're asking 40 million. I said to you, Dave, the other day, I think he's as raw as a baboon's ass.
Yeah.
I listen, it could go either way. He's got pace. He's interesting. Is he going to replace Richarlison? No, unless Richarlison breaks down, is not fit. I don't know. But again, great asset for the future. But are we going to spend £40 million on someone that's going to be good in a year's time? I think we need someone that's good now.
Yeah, look, for me on this quickly, pardon the pun, but everyone's going on like this guy's God's gift. Nobody knew who this guy was, or a lot of people didn't before this guy was linked to Tottenham Hotspur. Look, in reality, for me, I think there's certain areas on the football pitch that you just won't get away with pinning your hopes on a young sort of inexperienced player at a certain level. And for me, the Premier League and striker is one of them. I get we've got Richie. We've already got problems there with him. And for me, I just think we need someone that if you pay a certain price at a certain level, they'll guarantee you goals. And for me, I just feel more comfortable with someone like that because they have a better chance of hitting the ground running. This guy is, I don't even think he's got any much of a youth career, if I'm correct on that. I think he's only been playing football for the last couple of years. And I also seen George Bannister say something that I didn't read too much into it. I didn't bother delving too much into it, if you want me to be brutally honest. And I probably should, but he was saying, there's a few things around the guy on the outside of football that maybe when he comes to London, he's going to have serious attention and maybe looked after a little bit to sort of stop him from straying. So for me, I think it's a huge, huge gamble we're taking here. And I would like us to be a bit more proactive and go and get someone a bit more experienced. That's just my personal opinion on it. Anything you guys want to say back to that, or move on and talk about the whole DOF situation?
Yeah, I'm good with Gift Orban. Like I say, if we go for him, I'll be excited. But I completely understand what you're saying, mate. Massive risk. But
I mean, it's
I don't think we can go big on him and also fill the other gaps. I just don't think we're going to spend the money. So
that's what I'm saying, Sean. Like if you were, I know it's not going to be popular, but I can see Clement Longley coming in and playing inverted left back, right? Not as everyone thinks, playing as a left centre back. I think he would be coming in as cover for Destiny as an inverted left.
Sorry, who's this?
Longley.
Oh, right. Longley. Oh, you think he's coming in? Do you?
I believe that. Well, listen, I know he's got offers. He's got offers. He's got offers in. He's got offers at Inter. He's got offers in Juventus. He's got offers in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah,
but he likes London. What I'm saying is, I don't believe he plays in a 4. Should I say? It's better in a 3. But as an inverted left back, as cover for Destiny, I would rather have a guy who's played 160 times for Barcelona, what any of the fan base think, and 15 caps for France than Ben Davies. Thank you very much. And he's still only 27 years of age. But what I would rather do, going back to the thing here, I would rather distribute our money and spend the money on another quality centre-back, pick up Longley for Puttons as some backup sat in the corner, and buy 6. That's what I would personally rather do, and try and get through to the January window. I think you were looking at 6 as well, weren't you guys?
I've always said a 6 is massively important.
Yeah.
But watching the first game of the season, I know it's only one game. I just feel like Bissouma has proven himself that in that role to a high degree. In obviously it's a small sample size, but he looks like the real deal. And I think that
not with Skip though. Not with Skip though.
Not with Skip. No, exactly. I think that there's a problem for me. I think that there is a problem on the right back. I think that Emerson can do a job there. But if Emerson gets injured, I don't know what we're going to do.
100%, Sean. I've said it. I've been saying it all week. Porro can't do it. So what do you do? Honestly,
I don't think we have a plan B. So for me, that is an area, and there's a player out there that I really like. Who, bearing in mind, we've already got 15 players that we're trying to get rid of. I know we're going to be talking about that in a second, Dave. But we can't bring in 4 more players. Then you've got to add another 4 players to the exit list. So I think that you can only really bring in 2. For me, it's one is a striker, obviously Orban or whoever else, and the other one, in an ideal world, is either a really quality centre back that could play on both the right or the left side, like a Tapsoba maybe, or a Tosin or whatever. But for me, I think a perfect player. Tosin, but I also think that you could go and get that Gertruida, who can play right back, right side is centre back, left side is centre back.
You think they're letting go, Sean? I like him. I
yeah,
really
he can play in the 6 as well, mate. He's a brilliant carrier of the ball, strong, he's fast, he can turn. He's
50
good
mil?
I think he's a really, really solid option for us.
It's a top player.
Huh?
He's a top player, but I mean, they're going to be wanting 50 million for him. I can see it.
Well, I mean, maybe, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how desperate the club is for money, but if you could get it done for 30, 35, 40, and then spend the other 35, 40 on Orban, I think that's a really good window on the income.
I'm agreeing with you. I agree with you there, 100%. We were looking at the players today. You know, Paulinho, too expensive. You know, Amrabat's going to go Man United, probably. Tonali's gone to Newcastle. Lavia's gone to Chelsea. You know, Locatelli's too slow. And then you've got the other guy. You've got
Sangare.
You've got Sangare. You've got PSV and final sixes, and that's it really. So
not a lot of access out there, and there's a lot of clubs that are still looking. I mean, Liverpool had to go and buy that guy Endo, you know, from Stuttgart earlier on, right? I mean, who the hell is he? Who is he? 31-year-old Japanese player, and Liverpool have just looked like bet their entire season on him. I mean, that's the struggle in the market. Like, there isn't that many top tier players out there for all these positions, you know. So
Liverpool's a bit of a different situation, though. I've been listening to what's going on over there, and they've got a guy in on a temporary basis doing the job right now, because the guy that they did have doing it before, he's gone. So they're sort of getting problems going through that right guy to sort of come in and be able to get the deals over the line. But I take your point. I do take your point. But also, when you leave it that late in the market for such a serious position, that's where you sort of end up leaving yourself. Yeah.
It's good to know that there's another club as shit as we are at getting themselves sorted out, because Liverpool, the only reason Liverpool failed last year is they had no midfield, right? Yeah. We had no defence and they had no midfield. But at least they have tried to sort it out. They've got McAllister in, but we're still trying to. I mean, listen, we've signed one centre-back in 3 years. It's a joke.
It's a joke. It's a joke. But big up Paul Markey, my man. Let us know what your thoughts are off the back of that. Big yourself up, brother. And everyone, if you could smash that like button, that'd be very kind. And also subscribe if you are new. And feel free to keep getting your comments in. As you can see, I'm good at bringing them up. So keep bringing them, keep getting them in, and feel free to make it a super chat if you want. But look, we'll stick with sort of the players out and stuff like that, and then we'll get into a bit maybe on Paratici after. But look, lads, I finally bought myself to watch that Harry Kane interview with Sky Sports. He mentions he wants to push himself and feel the pressure of having to win titles every season, and wants to be competing for the Champions League as well. When you look at our last 4 seasons, we actually have a 25% top 4 finish rate, which would suggest we are no longer a Champions League team as well. Then when you take off the back of what Conte mentioned before, we're 11 players that go into the pitch. I see selfish players. I see players that don't want to help each other and don't want to put their heart in. Why? Because they are used to it here. They don't play for something important. They don't want to play under pressure. They don't want to play under stress. Very damning words. When you listen to what Harry Kane said about, you know, wanting the pressure of delivering titles and stuff like that, he sort of is along the line of what Conte is saying here. And look, we'll start with you on this one, Shawnee. Has Tottenham's inability and failure to offload players and prioritising money over progression hurting this club and our reputation as a whole?
Yeah, well, to a degree, right? I think we've got an ownership model that, you know, wants us to live within our means, wants us to spend what we earn, and doesn't want to necessarily put their hand in their pocket. Like, when you look around the other football clubs in the Premier League that are emerging right now, you see there's an emerging group of owners that are doing it a different way, that are throwing money at it now, hoping to reap the rewards later on. And look, they're two different competing models. Obviously, the other one, from a fan's perspective, is more desirable. Me personally, though, I understand as a business guy the prerequisite of being able to live within your means and make ends meet. So I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I do have a little bit of a problem with the idea, just on that Harry Kane quote, that Harry Kane saying, I want to leave to play under pressure of big games, but goes to a place where his rival isn't going to change a thing about the process of them winning a league title. Like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. There's a lot of words that you could describe a player who wants to leave a place where there's it's difficult to win a trophy, but there's a chance, to a place where it's a guarantee and your arrival doesn't make that guarantee a prerequisite. But ambition is not the word to describe it. So, I wish him well. I want him to go and do his trophies, but this idea that he's going there to feel the pressure, no, I think he's going there to tick a box personally, because he's not going to win the Champions League with them.
I don't think, though, Shawnee, we have to accept that, look, Harry Kane, for whatever you may think about him going to Bayern and whatever else, he was one of the players that constantly spoke about wanting to win trophies at Tottenham. Conte, right, whether we like them as a manager or not, he wants to win, and he wants to win now. And we're seeing the same sort of rhetoric come out from people that are at this club that have been winners, elsewhere, or aspire to be winners. And they sort of just, they're saying the same rhetoric.
No, yeah, of course. Look, like Tottenham are in in a league with the most competition in the world, right? There's all the best players are here. The top half of the table this year is incredible, through 1 through 10. You could take most of those teams and plonk them into the Bundesliga and pick any team in the top 10, and they'd probably finish second or compete with Bayern Munich. That is a demonstration of how difficult it is to win a trophy. When you are entering into every tournament that you can win a trophy, and Manchester City and Liverpool and Arsenal and Chelsea and Manchester United are in every single competition you are in, it's difficult to win a trophy. I understand that Tottenham should have won more trophies than they have over the last 20 years of Daniel Levy's tenure, but to sit there and say that it's a loser's mentality as to why we haven't, I don't know. I just think it's also incredibly difficult. But at the same time, I do think there are players at this club that are not good enough to take us to the level. And Harry Kane probably was looking around saying, "Are you actually ever going to, finish this rebuild where we've got, two class players in every position during my playing career?" And the answer is probably no. So I understand both sides of the argument, but I just think it's a little bit oversimplified to say, it's loser mentality as to why Tottenham aren't winning trophies. I think that's just I
agree with Sean.
I don't think it's down, just quickly, I don't think it's down to loser mentality. It's more so, especially from the Pochettino era, right? The last 4 years, it's the inability of shifting out the deadwood that's holding everything back. It's holding all the rebuilds back. It's holding our best players back, the managers back.
Well, it's not just shifting out the deadwood. The players that we're buying, we're identifying, like the deadwood is people that have been here for years. In the last, the players we're buying currently, Jed Spence, he's come in and he's immediately on the deadwood list. So it's not just about, the inability to move players on. It's also the ability to identify talent, which we haven't done very well with. But I think also when you're working with this second tier players like we are, I've said it 1,000 times, it's much easier for Chelsea to sell their best players, because the teams that have the money around Europe, the few teams around Europe that have money, are looking for class players. And Chelsea have got class players that they can move on. Tottenham are selling second-tier players into a second-tier market that are most of those...
Second-tier? Sean, you're very kind, mate.
Yeah, too generous for that, am I?
In third year. Look, the way I look at it, I've never heard so much shit in all my life, honestly. If you want to go on, if you really want to go on and have a challenge, sign for Borussia Dortmund, right? Don't sign for flipping Bayern Munich. You won 9 titles in a row. 10 titles in a row means jack shit to me, right? Go on, win the Champions League. You want to elevate yourself? Yeah. Inspire Bayern Munich to win the Champions League. I'll tell you some facts, Harry Kane, right? Where were you in the final, right? Of the Euros. Where were you in the final? Seeing the Champions League? What you should have done, if you were about the team, is turn around to Poch and say, "I'm not ready. I can maybe play 20 minutes," and leave the man of the moment, the man who got us there, the momentum to carry on rather than destroying him. Confidence breeds confidence. Whatever you think about Lucas Moura, Lucas Moura was in a magical moment, right? And the belief in himself, you destroyed it overnight when you took him out of that team. Where was he in the cup finals? All the finals. He's never turned up. So to say he needs to go to find pressure, he's had pressure. He's had pressure in the final. So what I say is he's gone out to Germany and played the team called Leipzig, who sold their best players. Is it 3 or 4 their best players? And they lost 3-0. So it proves one thing. Harry Kane is a jinx. The jinx has been lifted. And hello, We could go on and win the.
We're winning the treble. We're winning the treble.
We could win a trophy this season. I mean, how would that be, right? How would
That'd be hilarious.
How would that be tonight, right? If we go on and we won a trophy, I don't care what trophy it is. You know, a League Cup would do for me. The minor trophy. And we went on and won a trophy, and he went and won the Bundesliga, right? I know which will be more important to the Spurs fans. Look, he's been an amazing servant to this club, but I don't want to listen to the dribble that he's talking, right?
Yeah, same.
I've got no interest in it. I wish him well. But right now, you know, it's like when your lover leaves you for someone else. What are you going to do? Sit there and cry about it all night, or are you going to get on with your life and find someone else, right? We're going to find new heroes, and by halfway through the year, or hopefully by the end of this season, right, we will have a new hero that will all be singing his name, whoever it may be. So, R.I.P. No. R.I.P. Harry Kane, right?
Look, it's not so much Harry Kane's words. I think we're missing the point here. I think for me, you know, the fact that you've got someone like Conte who has won stuff where he's been before, you've got someone like Harry Kane who's always spoke about winning trophies, and they're both leaving the same team. That there's a lot of players around here that don't want to play with that pressure, that don't want to play with that demand. And for me, you know, it's clear what sort of players he's talking about, players that he's had around him for quite some time, for years. And the fact that they're still here, it is holding this club back. It's held back the Jose Mourinho rebuild because we were so slow on getting players out, and we trusted the playing squad rather than Jose Mourinho or some of the players in the playing squad. Then we went and done the same under Nuno, the same under Conte. And for me, you know, it concerns me that you know, we've had someone like Harry Kane here, world class. We've had managers here like Jose Mourinho and Conte. Despite what people think of them, they've got the silverware to back it up. But our inability to be able to rotate this squad has hindered them. And I'm concerned that it might also go on to hinder Ange Postecoglou. So what I also want to ask is it something that will maybe hurt us further if we don't get it done quickly? Because in reality, right, it stops us from replenishing the squad. It will hurt Ange just like it did Conte, Jose, and others. And the players we have are young, hungry, and ambitious. But if we fail to offload some of the deadwood, keep them around here, and some of these young, the likes of Madison or a Romero or Van de Ven or a Doji, for instance, they go on and sort of push on and become that next level. I fear we could be in the same position with some of these guys in a few years' time if we do not get it done quickly.
When you look, when Arsene Wenger left Arsenal, if you look over at Arsenal's ground, they only had two players left at the beginning of this season, Granit Xhaka and Rob Holding. Granit Xhaka's gone. Rob Holding, they put him on eBay, and they're trying to sell him right now. I think we got 11 players up until the start of the season, including Kane and Winks. It's a disaster. You see, what happened was we were a selling club, and one day Levy turned around and said, Tottenham Hotspur will not be a selling club anymore. We won't be selling the Berbatovs, and we will be keeping our best players. He forgot. Yeah, he's gone from the selling club to not selling club, and he's ruined it. I mean, if you look at Man United, yeah, they got rid of Jaap Stam. They got rid of David Beckham. They got rid of players when Fergie thought, they're not listening to me anymore. If you listen to someone 3, 4, 5 years like they did at Poch, it went stale. They've heard the same shit. They needed to get rid of the players, bring in fresh people that would listen to what Poch was saying. And that's when the dressing room went, because everything went stale. Fergie always refreshed. We hung on for too long, and now we're paying the price.
Yeah. That for sure. Look, it's just absolutely frustrating that it's taking so long, and I get it from a financial perspective, Sean. But you know my feelings on it. From me, you know, at some point, as a businessman, he has to weigh up that, you know, progress over money, or trying to get money for these guys, and how quickly he wants that progress to come around. And for me, it just seems like, because how do I put this? I don't think us fans put enough pressure on the board to get rid of some of these players. I don't think we call them out enough. I think a lot of the time we end up finding ourselves maybe making excuses for them. And then I think because Daniel Levy's at games and stuff like that, he then thinks, the Spurs fans love these players. So he thinks, in my opinion, I think he's biding his time to try and get cash for it. Whereas I think if we made it abundantly clear we didn't like a lot of these players, I think maybe you might have seen them out the door sooner. But Sean, at what point do we just stop this and Daniel Levy has to write it off?
Well, look, I mean, there's lots to sort of, I guess, 3 or 4 different parts to the answer. I'll be quick as I can. First of all, I think if you're, I don't know what you're suggesting. Is it like maybe booing certain players to let get a bit more kind of hung? See, I don't personally like that. On a human level, I don't think it's good, and also on a team sort of spirit level, I just think it creates bad toxicity and things that I don't personally like it. I know that a lot of the successful clubs are more than willing to do it in France and in Spain and stuff. In Italy, they're very happy to do it. I don't think it's a nice part of the culture of football for clubs to do it. So I don't personally want it. In terms of putting pressure on Daniel Levy and the board in other ways, I think unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to think of it, I think the people that are fed up with Daniel Levy for a number of different reasons, they embed that into one hashtag, which is the Levy out movement. And, that then could be considered or perceived by Daniel Levy to be, anti him rather than anti the players and your policy towards it. So if there was a way of breaking that down, and I'm not saying give up the hashtag, I'm not suggesting anything like that, but I mean, if there was a way for the Twitter, the social media movement to be more direct into their terms, into their personal, directives, then fine. That's another option. But again, I personally don't think it's if you ask one fan whether they like Harry, you'll see one fan will say that they love Harry Kane, another one will say that they prefer Sonny. So that, again, how can personal opinions of fans really shape the decision of a board or a player, the staff roster sort of thing? I don't think that's helpful either. I think you have to trust in your coaching staff, trust your scouts, trust your manager to make those decisions, in the best interest of the club. In terms of the speed of getting them out, I can 100% agree with you. Like, it's a joke, and I don't know whether or not. I know we're going to talk about it in a second, but the lack of staff at the top end that are able to because we've got a bit of a bottleneck going on. If everything has to pass through Daniel Levy's desk and he's busy negotiating Harry Kane, which is his big prized asset, then everything else gets put to the back burner. We've got 2 weeks left. We've got 12 players to get through. Other clubs seem to be able to move, and Chelsea's the obvious example. They're like a revolving door, and I don't know whether it's because Todd Bowley is employed. What's that, mate?
I said, look, we all know. Well, I'm going to go into Clear Lake Capital on this one, but like the Saudi PIF have just rode into town and
of course,
bought everyone, just the same as Alan St. Maxim is not worth £40 million, but by spending £40 million on him and taking to Saudi, the same Saudis can then go and spend £40 million on Harvey Barnes. It's corrupt, it's bullshit, and we know that the fees undisclosed. Look how many undisclosed fees have been conducted between Chelsea and Saudi Arabia. Says it all.
Well, okay, and it's a good point. Of course, I agree with you 100% on it. But just the frequency of their turnover of staff. Okay, the Saudi Arabia thing might make it easy, but I would also imagine it's because they have a number of people up there that are trusted to be able to get through. Like, they've got one guy that's doing this, another guy that's doing that, organize the deals. It probably doesn't take just one man to make them all happen. And I think that is creating a bottleneck that Daniel Levy just wants to be over everything. He's a control freak. And I think that is slowing us down. And we've got 2 weeks left. We've got 10, 11 to go, hopefully 2 to come in. That is literally a signing every day. That's a signing or one way or the other every day for the next 2 weeks to get through what we need. It's not going to happen. Ange Postecoglou said in the embargoed section of the press conference before the Brentford game, he said, we've got to move players out before we can move players in. We're top heavy. We're bloated. That was 6 days ago. And we haven't heard diddly squat about any players leaving the club since.
I think he was talking about a player. I think he was talking about a certain player when he was talking about the squad's bloated. Fatty
Doku or something.
Yeah, Fatty Doku. Yeah, he needs to lose some weight. Look, I've not been funny, but guys, have you ever been down to the Four Seasons Country Club? I mean, sorry, Hotspur Way. Have you been there? Right?
No, I haven't actually been in and around it. No.
You turn up, I've been in there, right? So listen, right? You turn up there, the guy's taking your clothes. Would you like a massage today, sir? Maybe a little swim. You know, someone's made you breakfast. You've had years of that, right? Why are you going to leave, right? I reckon Eric Dyer right now has chained himself, right, to the radiator. Ben Davies is holding his hand, right, with Tanguy, and they formed a daisy chain, right? They will not be moved out of there. I mean, look, you've got to cut those contracts. Those contracts have to be cut, right? We need to get rid of them. It's amazing that when you think of the likes of, I've mentioned Arsenal a lot tonight. I shouldn't, but I can't help it. Ozil, right? Big player, big money. Bigger than any of the players we're looking to cut. Aubameyang, big money, bigger player than any of the players we're talking about. Okay? Look at some of the others. Lacazette, right? We're talking about big players that they just took the decision, cut the money, get rid. Okay? Why are we still trying to get a fee for Hugo Lloris?
Yeah, it's madness.
10 years. Let him go.
And that's another example of Daniel Levy's kind of not seeing the wood for the trees. If he believes that there's value that he can get from it, if there's blood from a stone, even a droplet, he'll spend the entire rest of the window trying to squeeze it to see that
I
one.
think we're owed money. The problem is, Sean, right? He would have been owed money. So if he's on 130 grand a week, right, to go, they're probably arguing and haggling over $1 million or $2 million. And you can't blame him. If you're at this stage of your career, you're not going to let, if he's saying, well, you owe me 5.5, you owe me 6 million, and Levy's saying, well, we'll cut your wages now and I'm going to give you 3 and you can go and sign for someone else for nothing and make it up. And Hugo might be saying, no, I want 5, right? That could be the argument that's going on. But as for Dyer is just going to hang around and sign a pre-contract. Davis is going nowhere. It's just a frigging mess. And why is Tanguy? Why can we not do a promotional video? I've seen them all on YouTube, right? Like Karloff Kickable, right? Fantastic, looks fantastic on YouTube. Why can't we do a Tanguy YouTube video and send it to Saudi Arabia, right? To every club, going for a song, bargain. We just need to get rid.
And this is my problem. Sorry, go on.
I'd just rather have, we got 38 in the squad, and people are saying, why can't we sign anybody? Because we got too many players. Yeah.
And if you do sign anyone now, they have to be under 21 or under, because they can go into the under 21s and they don't have to be registered. And are they the sort of players that we need right now to sort of help us transition without Harry Kane and stuff like that? I'm not quite so sure, but this is why I say it's money over progression, and it's a joke. At some point, you've just got to wrestle with the fact you got it wrong, and if you have to, pay up 100% of their contract and just get them gone.
But to me, it reeks of like, let's use Hugo Lloris as the example, right? He's got a year left. He's on 100 grand a week, so he's owed 5 million quid potentially in salary. He's under no rush at all. His agent's saying, relax. Eventually, they'll tear up your contract, pay you out, and then you can go and sign somewhere else, get a signing bonus as well. So there's that pressure on one side coming from him. What Daniel Levy could easily just do, rather than sitting there and negotiating, just say, listen, here's how it is, right? I'll tear up your contract and I'll pay you 2 million quid, right? Take it or leave it. If you leave it, I will just I won't register you as a player, but you won't be able to go anywhere else. So you'll be training, you'll be running laps of the pitch all day, every day for the next 365 days a year. Like the power, if you're going to if you go to Reece saying, I want full payment, then Daniel Levy might as well say, you're not getting full payment. So like the only way you're getting full payment is if you do laps every day for a year. So you might as well sign on the dotted line. We'll meet in the middle, pay you 2.5, get out the way now, go and find yourself another club. I don't understand why it's that difficult of a negotiation.
It's not. It is when it comes to
there's something very important here. Again, right? Money talks and the rules walks, right? Why is it that the transfer window closes on the 1st of September and they've allowed the Saudi Arabian League, a new league,
unbelievable,
to carry on going to the 24th of September? Now, traditionally, Turkey have been allowed to take
2
a
weeks.
week extra.
Second, lads, I have a knock on the door. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, week and a bit, Sean, they give them. And that's because Turkey is broke, right? Turkey doesn't have any money. They tried to do loan deals, or clubs who are trying to get rid of a player. They try and do some sort of deal with a Premier League club or a Championship club or clubs around Europe to try and take players, and they come to a deal. So it's 10 days of wheeling and dealing. The Saudi League, my prediction here is come the 1st of September to the 20th of September, the Saudi Arabian League is going to cause absolute pandemonium and havoc with the Premier League, right?
Yeah, go on.
Absolute havoc. What happens?
In what way?
In every
What?
way. So what's going to happen if? Okay, let's just say Salah, for example. First of September, they close and they come round and offer Salah. They offer Liverpool 80 million for Salah, right? He says, "I want to go." Right? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You could go to any club. They could go to any club and cause havoc as of the 1st of September. They got got 3 weeks to go and cause carnage, right?
Why is that? Is that because they're outside? They're not. Are they not? They're not in UEFA and not in FIFA.
Because it's corrupt. Because it's corrupt, Sean.
Backhanders.
Right? It's corrupt. You're giving
the transfer window rules are the reason. Isn't surely the reason why is because the transfer window rules are for UEFA, which is just European nations, right? Because the transfer window rules for Argentinian clubs are different. The transfer window rules for Turkey. Turkey's not in Europe either. I'm guessing it's the same maybe for Saudi Arabia.
Look, it's an accident waiting to happen. I've been saying it over and over again. I want to see how the Premier League defend itself against a guy.
Premier League are a joke, mate. Premier League are the biggest joke of an organisation.
Right. I'm going to offer you all the gold that you can eat, right? What are you going to say? No, right? Bullshit, right? When that transfer window's closed, the club's going to go, what can we do? What can we do? I want to see what happens. I normally say I'll make my predictions on September the 1st when the transfer window closes and I know what the squads are and what the teams are. I've now revised that. I'm not going to say
21st.
And
September the 21st.
Well, look, don't be saying that too loudly because Daniel Levy might listen in. He might get an idea to his head and hold out for the money bags of Saudi Arabia to come in and not actually try and clear some of the deadwood out.
Yeah,
we'll wait and see. But I do want to kick on and talk about the director of football situation. Just before I do, though, there's a very kind gentleman in the chat called David Shire, and he has donated 5 Irish Hotspur memberships, and they go to the following: Drula, Wisdom, Meta Football, Mark, and also Bald Bean Counter. So, guys, every single one of you are in the chat. If you can please say thank you to David Shire. And a big up, and make sure you use them memberships to be able to get on the fan show, participate in the members only content, etc., etc. So big up, David Shire. Very, very, very generous thing to do. And also, I think Dermatron done one as well. Dermatron gifted an Irish Hotspur membership to Callum Roach as well. So Callum Roach, you've been a lucky recipient to that. So make sure you thank Dermatron. But boys, David and Dermo, big yourselves up and really appreciate it, guys. Absolutely top notch. So people, make sure you say thanks to them. We've got a super chat from Paul Mark. He says the right striker for us is Andrew's guy from Celtic. And look, Paul, this has been my argument all along. I'd rather go for someone like a Furuhashi over a Gift Orban because at least Furuhashi knows the system, knows exactly what's required of him up front, knows the movements, etc., etc. And for me, I think he has more chance of adapting than what someone like a Gift Orban does. So I'm definitely with you on that, Paul Markey. Big yourself up, brother. David Shire says freeze them out, and that's exactly what I've been preaching all along. That's what Shawnee has been preaching as well, and that's what Johnny's saying. Look, football clubs, this whole thing that players have to accept it. I get it. They have to accept a certain percentage of payout if you want to pay up the contract. However, football clubs for years have made decisions to try and force players out of their football clubs. It's not a new thing. It's gone on for decades. They have their ways. It's like any multi-billion-pound business. If they want people gone, they have their ways to be able to force them and freeze them out. And for me, this is what we should be doing. We have to have a cut-off point by the end of this window. This cannot go on any longer because it is holding this club back. It's took us from challenging for league titles to now no European football. It's took us from Champions League to now not even a Europa Conference League. They've invented a third competition to try and help us. We haven't even qualified for that. And we're not getting any closer to cup competitions. We're just going out earlier and earlier and earlier. So in all aspects, it's holding this football club back. They've had their chance to hold the torch after the likes of Toby Yan, Dembele, and etc. They've all failed. So just ship them on. Let's cut them loose. But big up David Shire. And David Shire says, Johnny, you are a star cobbler. I'll never know how disastrous Levy was till here.
Can I just say, this is what we want. Eric Dyer going in with his access card in the morning. Beep, beep. Hang on. I can't get in. We just delete their access cards. Don't allow them in, right? And get
I've had that done to me before. It was a horrible experience. I turned up to work one day and it was like...
Hang on. Listen, I had a security thing. I won't go into it, but, you know, and people were allowed access. The only way you could get in was with the card. Yeah. And I had to get rid of someone. And so we deleted their access. And that's all you do at the gate. I'm sorry, Mr. Dyer. You can't come into the ground.
Yeah, please check your email for an update as to why.
Correct. Please check your email, right? Yeah. And you will see the reason why. Okay?
Yeah.
I just can't continue at this madness. It's driving my blood pressure through the roof. But big up, Davey. Big yourself up, my man. I really appreciate the support, and I'm glad you're enjoying the content, brother. Big yourself up, my man. But look, let's move on, because I want to have a bit of a discussion about the DOF, and then I've got 4 channel members' questions there that we'll go through at the end as well. So let's talk a bit about the DOF, and we'll go to you on this one first, Johnny. There was a lot of noise earlier this summer about Tottenham hiring a DOF and it never happened. And the position is still vacant today. We heard rumors the other day linking us to that Barcelona guy. But do you think the club ever intended to sign a director of football? Was the plan always to continue with someone like Paratici and what sort of vision he had for the club as an advisor or on a consultancy basis until his ban is up and then rehire him?
Listen, I've been in the minority. When Paratici arrived at this club, we were in a frigging mess, okay? There was no infrastructure. Hitchin almost destroyed, you know, he was the only one that was given any money, and he basically destroyed it. Paratici's come in and he's brought in Gabonini, who's got a fantastic background at Udinese and Watford. He brought in Scolding, who done a fantastic job at Rangers with Aribo and Bassi, and you know he's got a great CV. And he brought in Steinson as liaison, and they really did put a lot of time and energy into putting the basics back into this team.
Yeah,
and the scouting, how everything was done, and put professionalism back into this club. It is not going to happen overnight. I've been saying this for 18 months. I've been going on and on about this. It's going to take time. I see the seeds of the recovery and the work that they're doing. I think basically what happened was they know how good Paratici is. You don't stay, I don't care what anyone said, you don't stay at Juventus, a club like Juventus, for 10 years if you don't know what you're doing, right? The problem is, they thought that he wasn't going to get charged. He was going to get away with it. He then didn't. Then they were looking for a DOF because they thought Paratici was done. But the rules, the charges and the restrictions have been amended. Okay? Paratici is operating within the law of what's been passed down, the judgment that's been passed down. Right now, it's working fine for Spurs. Gabonini is one of the top scouters. I mean, he brought João Pedro to Watford, who's going to be a star for Brighton. He bought Destiny. We only got Destiny Udogie because of Gabonini. We've got a really good squad of team, should I say, and I don't think it should be broken. And you know, if we can work like this for a year, 18 months, and carry on in the likes of bringing in Saar for bugger all, Destiny for bugger all, Solomon for bugger all, right? Okay. Ashley Phillips, who
Good signing.
I think is going to be a top player for
Yeah.
bugger all. I could go on. Yes, the people will throw back at us Porro, who was basically given to Conte because that's who he wanted. Richarlison, you could say, but I think on the whole, he's a really, really good director of football. We should be honoured that we got him. It's unfortunate that because of what's gone on, everything that we touch in this club is a frigging disaster. Okay, and just when we thought it was looking good, he gets convicted of this charge. I think we got to hang in there with him. I don't think it's broke. If it was broken and we're not selling the clubs, and one last thing, because I don't want to prattle on, and I am, his work with the youth setup and stopping the youth going with Steinson, Gabbanini and himself, right, is crucial to the future of this club. Because let me tell you, Romain Mundell wasn't around. He left because he couldn't see the vision. And they managed to turn it round. And that is the future of our club there, because this is the best group of young players that I've seen in my time that I can remember seeing. And long may it continue. They're looking at recruiting 16 to 19, 20-year-olds. That was the directive. That's what they've been doing. Bell, Lancashire, the two boys from Man City.
Herbie James, Callum Logan.
Yeah, it's happening. But guys, it's not going to happen overnight. We're not going to turn this round overnight. We want results now. But so I would keep him. I'm not interested in the guy from Barcelona. I'd say keep it as it is.
And look, I think that's a very important point on the youth. I think that gets missed. Paratici was the one that changed the payment system to be able to maybe stop other clubs coming in and poaching them, but also Greta Steinson was key behind getting them to sign. Absolutely important point there. Actually, just quickly, do you know why Spurs aren't playing any of the under-21 games on the Spurs play at the moment? No,
you're kidding. Well, you mean they sold Spurs play and now they won't put the games on?
It's annoying me because they didn't show the one against Man City at the weekend when they opened the league and bet them. And then also, I was told maybe they might show the home one against Newcastle this weekend, but it's not scheduled and it's pissing me off.
Are you having a laugh?
I swear to God.
Jamie Donnelly, right, listen, so Jamie Donnelly's dad is always great tweeter, right? If you follow him, guys, and see, and he was tweeting throughout the game. I mean, we won that game 5-0. Was it 5-0?
Yeah, we slapped them.
5-0. Absolutely slapped them away from home. Everyone's paid for Tottenham play. Last season, I watched the under-21s, right?
Yeah, same here.
I watched some highlights of the game. I can't believe what you're telling me.
It's annoying. It's annoying because I'm a big fan of youth football. I like to see people progress through the ranks and off. It's pissing me off. But anyway, Johnny, Johnny says he doesn't want to break that model. I'm sort of with it because, right, changing visions and everything else. Like if we bring in a new director of football, he want to bring in new staff. He'll want to bring in new players. He'll have his own vision that he'll want to implement. Are you okay to continue with Paratici as an advisor, as our consultant towards the club, and continue on the vision that Johnny was talking about that he's brought to this football club? Or do you think Tottenham should be looking to bring in a DOF? And maybe if we did, things might have been a little bit different this summer in terms of getting the squad done quicker.
It's a trade-off, isn't it? I think he's done a good job. I think that I'm not quite as sold on him as much as you two are. I think you two wax lyrical about him, and that's fine. I think there's a lot of people. I'm sort of somewhere. I lean towards good performance versus bad, but I'm certainly not a great performance. But I do like what's happening with the youth. I see we're generally moving in the right direction. Obviously, his criminal, issues, his personal issues, have been a bit of a spanner in the works. And we're only 6 months, well, not even 6 months, 5 months through a 2.5-year ban. So we've got a long time to wait without him be able to be directly involved in some of these things. So I'd be okay with bringing in someone that Paratici knows, trusts, and can work with on a temporary basis that can kind of do that work for him. Because I do think there is a bottleneck at the top. I do think we are struggling to get through the workload when it comes to getting these deals done, organized. You know, and if Paratici can't be in the meetings or can't officially be in the meetings, then we have to, we step out of the room, send a text message to Paratici, then get one back. It slows down the kind of processes. Obviously I'm simplifying it, but that is an issue. However, to go in a different direction also presents another issue, because if you do go, all right, time to go, Fabio, thanks for your help, we're going to bring someone else in. He's going to want to make his stamp his authority all over it, and it won't look the same. In order for him to make a mark, it needs to look different to what we're doing. So I personally don't hate what we're doing. I think it looks good. So I'm willing to give it a go. But I think the best solution would be to get some support that can actually, expedite some of these issues with getting the players out the door at the moment. And I think the best person to come in for that would be someone that Paratici knows, like I said a minute ago, who's not going to try and unsettle the process, but is going to assist it. Yeah, but I don't know if Gabby's a talent guy, but I don't know if he's necessarily a negotiator. I don't know if he's necessarily going to be able to figure out the kind of, the I's and the T's and all that stuff in the contracts. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't, but I'd imagine that there's, and I don't know if Scott Money's either.
Well, Sean.
That's why I was surprised. That's why I was surprised we let someone like Steinson go, right? Because he sort of had that role at everything, the negotiations and everything else. And why did we let him go? Maybe we could have used him to start doing the negotiations and stuff like that. No,
well, yeah, I don't know much about Steinson's. The reason why
he came from Fleetwood Town. Listen, Fleetwood Town director of football, right? And then he arrives at Everton. I won't go in there. That was a bit of a disaster there. Did he do stuff at Spurs? Yeah, he was a really nice guy. He was very well liked, but he's gone, right? The main players here are Scolding, Gabbanini, and Paratici. They're the three, okay? And don't forget, there's a network in there, There's a network there. They all liaise with Ange. And I think it's working very well. I listen, the only thing that's not working here right now is what Sean was saying, the bottleneck, getting them out. But I don't think whatever club, Arsenal are struggling to get rid of players. Chelsea would struggle to get rid of players if it wasn't for what's going on with Saudi Arabia. Look how many players Man United, they cannot get rid of players. I've said this last year.
They can't get rid of the second tier players. That's the point, right? Europe is broke. Apart from two or three teams, one team in every league, 2-3 teams across Europe that have got money.
Correct.
Germany seems to have a little bit of money, but ultimately the vast majority of clubs that would be looking at our players don't have any money.
Correct. So my point here, Sean and Dave, is this isn't a Spurs problem. This is a football problem. A year ago, I was trying to tell people, you spend £40 million or more on a player, you'll be lucky to ever see that money back, right? Yeah. Unless you sell it to the Premier League, because there is no money outside the league, right? None. That's why, you've got to be really, really careful. And there's millions. I mean, you look at, say we got rid of those 8 players, you could be millions paying off those players. Millions. It's a tricky situation. If you look at how many players, Man United have just let Bailey go, right? They just terminated his contract. Okay? They can't get Maguire to leave. I can't remember how many players United have got to get out. A lot more than us.
Yeah. It's also a shame that the couple of teams in the Premier League that have sold big players for big money, or that are doing a lot of business, are sort of 2 or 3 teams that Tottenham would never do business with, like West Ham. There's probably 3 or 4 players in the Tottenham squad that would suit West Ham. West Ham have got money, but there's no chance that Tottenham and West Ham will do business, right? We haven't done it for years. I think there was Defoe the last time we did business together, or Michael Carrick, I forget, but it's a rarity. Chelsea, another one, right? We just don't deal with Chelsea, and yet there would have been opportunities. So it's a nightmare. But I agree with you, Johnny. It's not a Tottenham specific problem, but I do think that there could be. And look, like I say, actually, to be fair, I'm speculating here about the bottleneck, because a bottleneck only is caused if there is access and opportunity to move these players out, but there's just not enough time in the day for Daniel Levy to be in charge of all of them. If there really isn't any interest in our players, then there's no bottleneck, is there?
But who would you sell? I mean, in all honesty, right? If you weren't Spurs, right, and these players were on the market, how many of them would you want?
Well, it depends on the club. Like, I think, like, obviously, there's water finds its level. So if you're trying to move on Serge Reguilon is a player that is good enough to play in the Premier Liga, right, or Portugal or somewhere like that. So, La Liga.
No, but he's done his hamstring. But I think I think he would have stayed. Reguilon.
Reguilon's done his hamstring as well as Sessegnon.
Did he not pull his hamstring? He pulled up against Barcelona, did he not?
Oh, no, I didn't know that. I knew Sessegnon was out with his hammy.
He tried to come off after 60 minutes. He tried to come off after 60 minutes, and Ange told him to stay out. They bought on the young kid. He should have taken him off.
Lamau, whatever his name is, Lamai.
Yeah,
Lamau.
And Ansu Fati managed to run...
I didn't know Reguilon's out injured. So he's out for weeks, is he?
Well, I don't know how long he's
I don't think he is.
He pulled up. Up. Whether he yanked his hamstring or he pulled up and he came off after he...
The club are never going to tell you if he's injured or if they're trying to sell him. Never, because it stops interested parties coming for him.
Correct.
But we've got an injury problem though, haven't we? Like we've already got on down our left hand side, you've got Sessegnon. You can't move on, can't sell an injured player, and he'll be out for a few months. So I don't know if you deregister him and then wait until January to put him back in again, and that gets rid of a problem or that kicks a can down the road. And then you've got Brian Hill as well. I don't know how long he's out for, but he's had surgery. So
did you see that? I feel sorry for him. That moustache, man. He tried to have it removed. Still there.
He grew it to try and make himself look like a man instead of a little boy in a man's game. But look, guys, I do want to. We've got 4 questions from the members. I don't want to keep you all night and abuse the time that you've been gracious to give me. So we'll take this super chat from Davey, and then we'll get the 4 members' questions in. I'll give you 2 each, and then we'll call it an evening. David Shire says, "Sorry, Sean, love you and your dog walking."
Thanks, mate. She's actually sitting outside the room here right now, licking her paws. So I'll let her know. I know she's the star of the show, mate. It's very nice for the feedback, mate. I appreciate it, David. Thank you.
Big up, Dave. Big up. And if there's anyone else around that area that wants their dog walk, just hit Sean up 1 p.m. every single day. He's out there walking Bugsy. So big up, David.
Like, this is the 4th time now. I was out taking the dog walk down the canal, and there's this guy, I think his name's Ben, who looks at me from across the other side of the canal, and he points at me like this. And I thought he was going to have a pop at me about, so I thought he was going to have a problem. I thought, I'm looking about Sean, you might get in a fight here. And he goes, "You're Sean Butler." And that's Bugsy. It's like the 4th time in as many weeks now that I've been. People know where I live.
You'll have the paparazzi following you on the next one. You'll be on Sky Sport.
I don't want one of the hardcore Levy outers to find out where I live.
What I do want to see is if we get a bit of breaking news, Sky Sports walking along with Sean and Bugsy getting his thoughts on the breaking news. That's what I do want to see. But look, we'll start with some of the members' questions. So, Sean, I want to throw this one at you from Stevie Webb. Big up, Stevie says, "Why did Tottenham seem to dither in the transfer market more than any Premier League team?" And what dither means is to act nervous or indecisive. I don't need to tell you that. You're more intelligent than me. I actually had to go and look up the meaning. It's just for people out there that might not know.
Why do we dither in it? It's a complicated thing, right? I think Daniel Levy always wants to feel like he's winning a negotiation. I think he goes into every negotiation thinking it's a battle, it's a zero-sum game. Someone has to win, someone has to lose, and therefore there's never going to be just a meeting of men in the middle. We can shake a hand and get a deal done quickly. I'd imagine that that's a big part of it. I'd also imagine that the market is a moving beast. Every day, new precedents are set with certain players moving in certain directions for certain amounts of money, and that obviously reshuffles things. I don't know necessarily if we're that much slower at getting deals done than a lot of clubs. Chelsea are just Chelsea are a new. I know they are, but if you look, I mean, Arsenal took forever to get Declan Rice finished. True. Like Liverpool spent forever, and Chelsea for Caicedo. I mean, Amrabat, that deal has been going on for 8 weeks, and I don't know what's going on there. So I don't think it's just Tottenham. I think that Tottenham, probably we as fans look at Tottenham and are frustrated. But if you were to take your kind of Tottenham hat off and just look everywhere, you'd probably see similar things. But I do think that Daniel Levy, for what it's worth, is a slow, painful negotiator. And I think that does, make things more complicated than it sometimes needs to be.
I mean, the Saudi type of deal, and the Chelsea deal is how much do you want for the player? 80 million. Will 110 do it?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, there you are, Stevie. Hopefully you got the answer that maybe you were looking for, my man. Big yourself up. Johnny, Valisman 3604 asks, what do we think Big Ange himself will regard as a good season this season?
Progression.
For the whole season, maybe?
Progression. Being the first manager since Pochettino to last the full season. Progression and the players adapting to his game and how he likes to play football. I could handle a full season of Brentford the way it was there. If we finish sixth, playing exciting football, I can accept it. You know, obviously I'd like to finish higher, but I just want to see attacking football. I want to go to the ground every week, and you know, be excited. I haven't been excited going to Spurs in a long time. I go home, I go away, not to every game, but as many as I can go to, and it's just been painful. It's just been painful. So for me, progression, seeing his team play a brand of exciting football that he wants. A project, I expect to see the best of Ange. Please God, he lasts the end of the season next season. But if we can see exciting football and players progressing, I think the fans will give him extra time.
For sure. I liken this season to maybe Harry Redknapp, a bit like that. There's going to be plenty of ups and downs, lots of high-scoring games. It'd be interesting to see what happens. But there you are, Release, man. Let me know. Hopefully you've enjoyed Johnny's answer to that question. Shawnee's not back yet, so we'll throw this one to you again, Johnny. Our very own Nick, aka Lazy 8. He asks, if we let Reggie go, are we putting ourselves in a difficult position at left back?
I say keep Reggie. Personally, like I said that there would only be two players from the Deadwood that I would keep, which would be Reguilon and Gio, and there was only one defender I would keep in our current setup, which would be Sanchez because of the high line. Reggie is a left back, came out of Real Madrid as a left back, didn't fit into the wing back system with Conte. Yeah. So Atletico Madrid were very happy to take him as a left back. Unfortunately, he got a little injury, went to hospital to have that injury sorted, and caught some bacterial virus that put him out literally for months. So that game against Barcelona was his first full game or extended game of football in, I think, 10 months. I think as a left back, just the same as Emerson Royal is not a wing back and is more of a right back, I think Reguilon is more of a left back. So I would be keeping him. If he does go, be prepared to see Longley as your inverted left back. That's my prediction.
Or Ben Davies. But look, I wouldn't be opposed to Longley coming in here. I'd like to see him come back. But there you are, Nick. Hopefully you've enjoyed Johnny's answer to that question, my man. Big yourself up, brother. And then we have one more from the members. The last one, Sean. This one is from Jim Boxwell. Big up, Jim, my man. And he says, are we getting any more signings? Because if we have a few injuries, we are in trouble.
I hope so. Really do hope so. If we don't, then I think you have to ask questions. You have to ask questions about what the strategy is and why why we haven't replaced. I think the club have got a little bit too much faith in Richarlison. I think they feel like they have to because they spent 60 million on him. And I think that's an issue. But look, I think that with the injuries that we've already seen happening, I just feel like we need a couple more in. I'm not going to be greedy, and I think we ultimately need 4 in. Maybe you could make the argument for 5. A better left back, a better right back, a 6, a centre back, and a forward to add depth. But in reality, Rome wasn't built in a day, as Johnny said earlier. You can't do it all in one window. January is not far away, and I think obviously this year for me is a rebuild anyway. So it's like get the set the foundations right, and then we'll go properly next summer. So I don't expect it all to be done, but I think the bare minimum you should expect is 2 more in, 1 forward and one defender of some variety. And the reason why I keep saying Gertrude is because I think he is someone that can play in 3 or 4 different positions across that back line. So, someone that's very versatile and a bit of a utility player. But there's other people out there that can do similar things. I just want to see 2 more in, and then I'll be happy. And then, God willing, we can get some of these players out of the club so that they're not toxic in the.
I agree with Sean. Gertrude he has the versatility that will help us play in various positions that can cover. Just the same as got Mickey van der Ven, who, if necessary, can play at left back.
Yeah,
Gertrude can play at a variety of positions, and he might cost a lot of money, but I believe that of the players available, he is the best answer to what we need right now.
100%. So there you are, Davey. They're basically, that's who the boys want at right back as well. He can play in multiple positions. With us in a pick and only being able to probably bring in 2 once we clear out about 10. You are going to have to look at someone that can be a bit more flexible. So big up, Dave. And then he also says, cheers, you're awesome. Experts. Look, I don't know about experts, but we definitely have passion and love for the football club, and we love to go into talking about it in depth. It keeps us sane during the week and probably keeps us in relationships or as well, to be honest, because if I bored my missus with Tottenham Hotspur, she'd probably need me because of all the doom and gloom surrounding it. But big up, Davey, my man. Really appreciate the support. But look, lads, before we end off, where can people find you? We'll start with you, Shawnee.
Yeah, Spurs Talk Show on YouTube and Twitter. Yeah, daily walks with my dog. And then when the internet's working, I'm really surprised that it's actually been flawless throughout the show, because all day long today, it's been 5 minutes on, 10 minutes off. I've been pulling my hair out. But when the internet's more reliable, then I do streams as well. I try and do a stream a day, but it's been difficult the last couple of days. So yeah, I have great guests on, guests like Dave, guests like Johnny, and other people on for the streams, and then me and Bugsy take over the morning effort and do the whatever's going on with the transfer news, views, and clues. So if you haven't found me over there yet, please do. It'd be great to see you over there.
Yeah, make sure you get over and support this guy. Like I said at the start of the show, he's the fastest growing YouTuber there is in the community. So make sure you get behind him. He's going places, and you want to be a part of that journey. And then, so big yourself up. And Johnny, my man, where can people find you, brother?
Let him grow. Yeah. So for me, Johnny H 3232. You can find me there. Follow me. Twitter Spaces. We have some great chats on there. All sorts of subjects to do with Tottenham. Even if you're watching and you're not a Spurs fan, pop on. We don't like everyone to agree. In fact, most of the people don't agree, which makes it a great chat. You can also follow me on on Tottenham on Tour, where I do anger management with Brian Daigle after the game. But it's great to be on these shows with you, Sean, on the Spurs Talk Show and on the Irish Hotspur, and great community. Lots of great content, and follow everybody. But come and follow me.
Yeah. Follow everybody.
The slowest growing celebrity on.
No, but for what it's worth, I'm new to Spaces. I've never really ever I didn't know how to access them, found them, or find them. I don't know how to search for them, so I'm not really that big on Twitter. But then when I followed Johnny, then I started seeing them. I listened in. They're excellent. They are brilliant content. Different type of format, obviously, to the video side. It's spicy stuff. They've got some great guests in there that know what they're talking about as well, just like you. So I'd encourage everybody who's on Twitter to go and follow Johnny so you can get access to that stuff as well.
Thanks a lot, guys.
100%. And Johnny's link is here in the chat. So all you got to do is just copy, paste it, or just click on it and it bring you to it, and follow the one and only Johnny. And also, Johnny's link is in the chat. I keep refreshing and putting them to the bottom just so that you guys know to click on them, get over there and follow them. And I think Alan Clark from Tom added on as well. I got a message off him saying, "Did you get the redirect?" I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
I saw a few people saying time added on raid. So yeah.
Well, yeah, there were a few that I saw on here that were on the show I was on earlier. Yeah.
So big up the time added on family. Big up Alan Clark. Really appreciate that as well. One of you guys may actually teach me how to do this so I can start repaying the favor to people. I don't even know how to do it. Hopefully one of you guys can teach me how to do it so we can get on that as well. But I want to say a massive thank you to everybody for tuning in this evening. A massive thank you to the two boys here for giving up their time this evening. I really do appreciate it, guys, and everyone. A massive thank you to Paul Markey, Iceman, Davy Shire, and also Dermatron as well. Really appreciate the support, guys. But look, that's it from us. That's another stream done and dusted. We'll be back tomorrow, gearing up for the big game on Saturday versus United. We need to dish out some punishment for the rest of the Premier League. They're constantly getting dodgy VR decisions, and it's pissing me off. So I'll be there tomorrow to get everybody pumped up to dish out that punishment. See you all here tomorrow. Come on, you Spurs. In the mighty Ange we trust. We never stop.
Come on. Bye.
Everywhere we go.